Hey guys, it's Ellen, and as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be wrapping up 2 different months of reading because I didn't get that much done, so I decided to combine them. And the 2 months are October and November, so let's get into it. I mentioned in my last haul video that I have been in sort of a reading slump, which I'm actually really starting to get out of, and I've been loving reading every day, so things have gotten better, but for the months of October and November, I had a really hard time getting through books. So I only have I actually only have one book to show you, and the rest of the books are either library books, ebooks, or one of them is an audio book. So the first book that I actually read is from the library. It was called Slasher Girls and Monster Boys, and this is a bind-up of a bunch of different sort of scary, eerie monster stories, and I read this around the time, or I started reading this around the time of Halloween, and so it was really very timely, and it was great. Some of the stories I loved, but most of them were pretty average, and some of them were meh. So overall, I gave the book probably a 4 out of 5, or maybe a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The only book that I actually finished in October was Coraline by Neil Gaiman, which I originally tried reading when I was really young, and it really scared me, so I didn't actually finish it when I was a kid. And it's basically a kid's book. I didn't finish it when I was a kid, but I came back to it as an adult, and I read it all the way through, and I got a lot of different things from it than when I was a kid. So it scared me a little bit less, still a little creepy, but it was kind of a cool lesson, you know, the meaning of family and independence and being courageous, and it was just a really cute story now that I look back on it. So I gave that one, I believe, a 4 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read, well actually I listened to it, is the audiobook for A Little Something Different by Sandy Hall. And I went into this kind of knowing a little bit about it, that it was told from a bunch of different perspectives of really interesting characters, objects. One of the characters is a squirrel, one of them is a park bench, some just really a very different, a little something different, I guess. And so I thought that was a really cool premise. And initially, I liked this story. I liked the idea of it. I liked the main characters who are, throughout the story, sort of coming into their relationship and falling in love. But I really felt like this story dragged so much. And each character basically, I mean, they're all different perspectives, but they told the same story. Kind of like, ooh, these 2 people are they should get together. They feel like they're my special couple. I've been watching them, blah, blah, blah. And I really feel like it was the same narrative in every single one, even the park bench. Like, I don't think it added that much to it. The squirrel was kind of funny, but overall, I just thought the story dragged, and it didn't even really resolve very well at the end. And so I kind of enjoyed parts of it. For the most part, it was not my cup of tea, so I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was an ebook, and I've been hearing a lot about this one in BookTube. Witty Novels, Whitney, she mentioned this is one of her favorite classics that she read recently, and it's called The Awakening by Kate Chopin, or Chopin. I'm not really exactly sure how to pronounce her name. And it's sort of sold as a feminist text, and that's definitely what I got out of it. It's really short. It's sort of like a Victorian. The writing reminds me a little bit of Jane Austen, that era, but I think it's a little bit more accessible, actually. And the storyline is really interesting. It's about this woman who is in a marriage, and she has these children, and it's not really a very loving marriage. So she sort of feels trapped in this marriage and this life that she doesn't really enjoy. And throughout the story, she is finding herself, she is awakening, and it's just a really cool thing to see. And it was really different for the time. Her behaviors were not widely accepted in this time period. So I found her to be a really strong character. I feel like a lot of sort of feminist characters can come across as sort of like bucking the world and being sort of like man-haters, which is really not how feminism works, and it's not how it is in the modern day. So I really thought that this character was an important one because she did all these things and found herself and decided to be independent without coming across as an unappealing character, or as an unlikable character. I definitely liked her throughout, and yeah, there's a little bit of a love story in here, but it's not the central plot line, which I really thought was cool. Yeah, I love this one. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The last book that I finished was another 5-star book, and this one is called The History of Love by Nicole Krauss. this one was so beautiful. I was actually reading it in public a couple times, and 2 separate people came up to me and were like, oh my gosh, this book is amazing. Like, I remember exactly where I was when I read it. It made a huge difference in my life, and I definitely really enjoyed it. I don't know if those exact things are true for me. I don't know if it made as much of an impact as it did for these other people, but I really enjoyed it. The writing is stunningly beautiful. The narrator has just like this really unique voice, and there are a couple of different perspectives in here, and each of the voices is so very different and very distinguishable and all very enjoyable. And it's a book about writers, and so it makes sense that the writing is really interesting, really captivating. The storyline was beautiful. The characters I was definitely crying at some points, and I was definitely laughing out loud at some points. It was just an all-over really good, heartwarming story that I enjoyed from beginning to end. So 5 out of 5 stars for this one. The last book that I'm going to mention here is Unnatural Creatures by Neil Gaiman, or compiled by Neil Gaiman. And no, I did not quite finish this one. I still have quite a bit to go. I still have about that much to go, this section here. But I still feel very proud of myself because honestly, I thought that these were going to be a lot of quick reads, and they are not. I've spent a lot of time on this book, and it's really enjoyable. Each of the stories is incredibly unique and handpicked by Neil Gaiman, so I like to take my time with them and really put myself in Neil Gaiman's shoes as he was reading this, and to kind of see how it made an impact on him as a writer and as a person. So I've been really enjoying these stories, and so I wanted to mention that I did get through quite a few during these last 2 months, but I didn't finish it. So I will be continuing this probably for a couple more months. That'll probably be how long it takes me to read this. But yeah, I really like it. And I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this one. A lot of people really enjoy Neil Gaiman. And it's not his writing, but it is writing that has inspired him, writing that has impacted him. And so it's all very good. Most of it is very good. There are some stories that I could do without, but most of them are really cool. Very different, from different time periods in history. Some of them are books from authors that were already deceased. Some of them were his friends. Some of them are contemporary authors. So it's just a really overall very cool collection. So I've been enjoying this one. All right, guys, that is my short and sweet wrap up for the months of October and November. Next month, I will definitely be back with a wrap up that is much longer because first of all, because I am enjoying reading a lot more, and I'm really getting into, I'm in the habit of reading right now, and also because I need to reach my GoodReads goal. Well, I don't need to, but I really want to, and I'm so close. I think I only need to read about 10 more books this next month, and then I'll be at my goal of 100 books, which is amazing. I never thought I could do it, and it's just, I'm really excited about it. So, yes, my next video will be a TBR for next month of what I am planning on reading, a couple wintry books, a couple shorter books, just to sort of get me on track with my goal, and then just some other ones that I have been wanting to read. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye!